I'm Troy McClure. You've seen me in such fine quality, epic chemistry videos such as Density is for the Thick-Headed and If Things Are Less Dense Than Water, Do They Float? Part 4. Today we're going to be doing a density lab. Density. Now, density, there's a couple of things you have to take into account regarding density. You have to take into account the mass and the volume, okay, which we are going to have to. In fact, that is the formula for density, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to point that out. Density is, in fact, mass over volume. We'll turn that off to the side. So, density is, in fact, mass over volume. Now, great. So let's get on with the lab, shall we? The whole point about the lab is you're trying to determine the density of water. Okay, so for this particular lab, you're going to have a graduated cylinder. Notice the markings there, dry. You're going to have a dropper bottle. You're going to have a cup that has got water in it. Now, do we need to worry about safety equipment here? No, not really, because you're working with water and you're working with plastic. So I'm not so worried about plastic shattering and going into people's eyeballs. So no goggles. While we do have aprons, it's water, for crying out loud. It's hot at this time of year. So cylinder, dropper, cup of water, an electronic balance, which we have on one side of the room, but for the purposes of this instructional video, I have it right here. So, if density is mass over volume, we have to take into account the fact that water needs to be put in some kind of a container. Well, we're going to use this as our container. So, before we go and do anything else, we have to find out how much does this weigh empty. And that is where we're going to go to the balance. Okay? And you may notice that the balance may or may not be at 0. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to reset it. So it's at 0. We're going to put our balance on there. We're going to put our cylinder on there. And I don't know if you can tell, but it is 41.85 grams. So that would be a piece of information you need to write on your data sheet. Okay, 41.85 grams. And that's going to be the empty. Okay, that's going to be the empty cylinder. Okay, that's going to be important. Now, you are going to do more than one trial. Are you going to have to weigh it every single trial that it's empty? Yes. Why? Well, you have to take into account that you might be missing some drops of water. In our perfect little world, our cylinders would be nice and dry. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they're a little bit difficult, but you guys are going to make an effort at it. And for honors chemistry, there's going to be a few objects that I'm going to have you go calculate the volume, and then you are going to be weighing it. But for now, this is the basic video here for what we're going to do to determine the density of water, mass over volume. Well, now we have got the mass of the empty. Now, let's say we're going to go for, let's 10 milliliters of water. Okay, or better yet, here, let's make it more fun. Let's make it 50 milliliters of water. How in the world do you do that? Well, you know, I already have a cup of water already prepared here, but you would get that from the faucet. Now, you want to be careful when you turn on the faucet, because what you don't have is the and then water is all over you, and everybody's going to laugh at you because, you know, you just blew it. So turn on the water. If you see my hand here on the handle, you turn on very slowly and let the water come out. So I've got water in here, and I can start pouring into my cylinder, and I need to pay attention. I am looking at the 50 milliliter mark, and okay, getting there, getting closer, getting closer, getting closer, getting closer, almost. Okay. Now, it's not a big deal if you go over the 50 milliliter mark. That just means you have to pour a little bit back in. But what happens if you're under the 50 milliliter mark? Not the end of the world either, because that's where the dropper comes in. The dropper can help you. Now, before you use the dropper, you need to see if there are any air bubbles. Now, you may notice there's some air bubbles here. I don't know if you can see it up close, but there's some air bubbles in here. Okay? That will make your data not very reliable. So how do we get rid of the air bubbles? Well, one way we can do that is just gently tap it like this. Okay? To try to encourage the air bubbles to leave. Another way maybe is to turn it, and be careful when you're doing this. If you know where the air bubble is, you could turn this such that the air bubble now joins with the rest of the air. So now, okay, I think I'm missing one more here. Okay, I got no air bubbles in here. This is good. Now, if we look at this, it's kind of close to the 50 milliliter mark. It's not exactly there. Let's take a look. Yeah, my meniscus, and that's in between 49 and 50 milliliters. So I'm going to have to add some. So I go to my red cup with the water in it, and I fill this up. Now, to let you guys know, does this squirt out very spectacularly? I do not expect you guys to go and squirt each other down each other's backs, in each other's faces, legs, or any other body part. They are not meant to squirt. That's a great way to take a detention and take a 0 on the lab. So don't do it, because I know there's some people would be curious. Okay? So I'm going to take some here, and then I'm going to go, and you want somebody who's good at reading this down below. You want it eyeball level, and you have somebody here who's going to go in and don't squirt it all at once. That will mess up the results. You want to go drop by drop. Drop by drop. Drop by drop. And you're looking at the meniscus shadow, and we'll talk about that. Well, we have already talked about it. And, okay, we got it. So now we've got that. Now we can bring this back here and, okay, it's not at 0. I hit the re-0 button again. It's now at 0. I'm going to put this on with the 50 milliliters of water. And I have 92.04, 05, 06, 07. Oh my goodness. Make up your mind. Okay, 92.05. That's where we're going to go with it. So on your data sheet, okay, 92.05 grams. That's the cylinder, you know, with 50 milliliters of water. So you're going to write that down on your data sheet. Your data sheet's not going to look like this. I'm going to give you a better one, obviously, but I'm demonstrating what you need to do. Now, how about doing the calculations? Because I'm only going to do this once. Calculations are pretty simple. What you want to do is we need to figure out what was the weight of the water, the mass of the water. We've already figured the volume. We're saying, okay, it's at 50 milliliters. Let's go ahead, let's do the mass. So I have, when I started out, I had 41.85. That was the empty thing here. Oh, hey, what are you supposed to do with the water? Just go ahead and pour it back in like this, and then get some poor freshman to go dry your cylinder for you. Wait, you don't have any freshmen in the class, so somebody needs to go and wipe it. That's called take a towel, okay, like this, and go in and then wipe. Now, let's get back to business. So here we've got two numbers. We've got the empty cylinder mass and then the cylinder with 50 milliliters of water. So I have here, I'm going to subtract the empty cylinder mass from the mass of the cylinder with 50 milliliters of water. Why am I doing that? So I get to know how much does my 50 milliliters of water weigh. All right, let's do it. 92.05 subtract 41.85 equals, and I have got 50.2 grams. That's my water. That's the mass of my water. Okay? Now, at that point, I've got, according to the formula here, I've got my mass, my 50.2 grams, so I'm going to go ahead and write that down. 50.2 grams. Okay, so there's my 50.2 grams. But wait a minute. What's my volume? Well, the volume was 50 milliliters, right? So it's going to be 50 milliliters. So I'm going to write that there. And according to this formula, I'm supposed to divide mass by volume. Okay, mass by volume. So it's going to be 50.2 divided by 50. Whoops. Go back. 50. Whoops. Let's try that again. I messed up on the calculator. Even the best of us do. Divided by 50 equals. And I got an answer of 1.004. Well, what's the units? Okay, well in this case it was grams divided by milliliters, right? Because density is mass over volume. So it's grams over milliliters. So I ended up getting 1.004 grams per milliliter. That is my density. That's my density of water at 50 milliliters. Okay? That's all I needed to do. So that's basically what's involved in doing the density lab. Now for Honors Chem, you'll be doing some other things where you'll get to calculate the volume of objects and then weigh them and do all that other fun stuff. Okay? But that's the basics behind the density lab. You're going to weigh your empty cylinder. You are going to add however much volume of water you're supposed to. Then you weigh the cylinder with that volume of water. Then you're going to subtract the mass of the empty cylinder from the mass of the cylinder with the water. So what you have left is the mass of the water itself. You take the mass of the water and you divide it by the volume of the water, and that's when you've got your density. Okay? Hey, I hope this lab helped you out, and, well, I'll catch you around the next time. Oh, look. No screaming. All right, I guess there's more to life.